You're listening to Epic Reddit Files. The first thing I noticed wasn't the pain. It was the sound, an ugly, wet ringing in my ears like the whole world had been shoved underwater. I blinked hard, trying to force the ceiling back into one clean image, but the hallway light kept splitting into doubles. My cheek was pressed against cold tile. My mouth tasted like pennies, like I'd bitten straight through the inside of my lip. Somewhere above me, someone whispered, "Oh my God." Then a voice I knew too well said, very calmly, like she was reading a grocery list, "She tripped. She's always tripping over her own feet." I tried to inhale. My chest answered with a sharp, stabbing refusal, as if my ribs were made of broken glass. Air went in shallow and shaky. Another breath felt impossible. Footsteps thundered down behind that voice. Heavy ones, fast ones, my parents. "What happened?" my mom said, sharp and frantic. But when I turned my eyes toward the stairs, I saw something that made my stomach drop even harder than my body already had. My mother wasn't looking at me first. She was looking at her. My stepsister, Sloane, stood a few steps up with her hands half out like she'd just finished a magic trick. Her face was arranged into the perfect mixture of concern and innocence. It almost fooled me. Almost. "She fell," Sloane said quickly, stepping back as if she'd been nowhere near me. I tried to catch her. "She's so clumsy. You know how she gets when she's tired." I tried to speak. It came out as a wet cough and a gasp that scraped my throat raw. "I didn't fall," I managed. My dad's face tightened immediately, not with worry, with irritation. "Stop," he said, like I'd just embarrassed him in public. My mother crouched beside me. Her hands hovered over my shoulder and arm like she wanted to help but was afraid of making it worse, or afraid of making it real. When she finally touched my shoulder, pain shot through my side so hard I cried out. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Graham, she's hurt." My dad stood above us like a judge. "What did you do now, Harper?" I swallowed blood taste and tried again. She pushed. "We are not doing this," he snapped, cutting me off mid-breath. "Not tonight." I stared at him, shocked even though I shouldn't have been. My lungs burned. Every breath was a fight. "I can't breathe," I got out. My mom's voice cracked. "We need to take her to the hospital." "No hospitals," my dad said instantly, too fast, too practiced. My mother blinked at him like she hadn't heard right. "What?" "We'll handle it at home," he said, just like always, just like always. Those words hit me harder than the fall. They dragged a whole invisible timeline into the room with us. The accidents, the misunderstandings, the times I'd woken up sore and bruised and convinced myself it was my fault because that explanation was less terrifying than the truth. The time a hardcover book slipped out of Sloane's hands and into my wrist. The time a door accidentally swung open into my face. The time I had a headache for 3 days and my mother said, "Sleep it off, honey," while my dad glared at me like I was being dramatic. My mom looked at my dad, then at my twisted wrist, then at the way my breaths came out thin and panicked. "Graham," she pleaded, "please." His jaw worked like he was losing an argument with himself, one between panic and reputation. Finally he snapped, "Fine, but Harper, listen to me." He leaned in close enough that I could smell coffee on his breath. "You slipped," he said. "You're exhausted from work. You fell. End of story." Behind him, Sloane's mouth curled for half a second, small, quick, satisfied, like she already knew what would happen next, because she always did. "My name is Harper Lane." I was 25, working nights as an EMT while finishing the last stretch of a certification that would get me out of debt and out of this house. I lived at home because it was cheaper, because my parents insisted it was smart, because I kept believing if I just made it to the next milestone, just got the next job, just saved enough, I'd be free. Sloane was 27, 2 years older and somehow always treated like she was 6. 6 months earlier, she'd moved back in after a breakup, a job loss, and what my parents called a rough patch. What they meant was she'd burned through every other option and came home to rebuild her life using mine as a foundation. She wasn't my biological sister. My dad had married her mom when we were teens, but blood never mattered in our house the way loyalty did. And my parents, loyalty always leaned toward the person who demanded it the loudest. That night didn't start with the stairs. It started with something stupid, laundry. A basket in the back hallway that I hadn't folded yet because I'd gotten home at 2:30 a.m., and my whole body felt like it had been wrung out. Sloane was already in a mood when I walked in. I could hear it in the slam of cabinets, in the way she moved through the kitchen like everything offended her. Then I saw my dad's tablet on the counter. Open, bright screen, Sloane's nails tapping fast, too focused. I recognized the posture. that tight jaw and locked-in stare. She wasn't scrolling, she was doing something. I asked as calmly as I could, "What are you doing on Dad's tablet?" She didn't look up. "None of your business." My stomach dropped. "Is that another gambling app?" That got her attention. She turned slowly and smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. It was the kind that warned you stepped into the wrong room. "Don't start with me," she said. I wasn't trying to start. I was trying to stop the thing that always ended the same way. Missing money, missing valuables, missing peace. I said, "Sloan, you promised Mom you were done." She snapped the case closed like a gavel. "You think you're better than me because you wear a uniform?" "I think I'm tired," I said, and I reached for the tablet. She stepped in close, too close, close enough that her perfume hit the back of my throat. She hissed, "Touch it and I'll make you regret it." I should have walked away. But I'd just spent a shift holding pressure on a stranger's bleeding scalp while he begged me not to let him die. I'd listened to his wife sob in the background. I'd watched paramedics work like machines. I'd done everything right and then come home to this kitchen, to this person in my space, digging at the same wound again. So the words came out before I could swallow them. "You've been taking money from my room again." Her eyes flicked just once toward the hallway, a tell. My pulse went hot. "You did," I said. "I know you did." Sloan took one slow step toward me, testing whether I'd flinch. "Prove it," she said softly. That's when my mother appeared in the doorway, robe tied tight, hair messy, eyes wide with that familiar fear. "What is going on?" Sloan didn't even turn her head. She lifted her voice and flipped into that sweet wounded tone like she'd practiced it. "Harper's accusing me again," she said. "She's being aggressive." My dad followed behind Mom, half asleep and already irritated. "What now?" I tried. I swear I tried to make it sound reasonable. "She's on your tablet," I told him. "It's a gambling app again and money's been disappearing from my room." My dad's eyes sharpened. Not at Sloan. At me. "Harper," he warned like I was the one holding a match. Sloan's mouth curved, a tiny smirk. I felt the old rules settle over the kitchen like a heavy blanket. Sloan gets grace. I get discipline. Always, I forced my voice calm and said, "I'm going to my room, I'm locking my door. If anything goes missing again, I'm calling the police." The kitchen went dead quiet. My mom froze like I'd slapped her. My dad's face tightened with anger and fear. Fear not of what Sloan had done, but of what my words threatened. Sloan's face changed. Not rage, not panic. Something colder. She moved fast, so fast I barely registered the motion. Her hand clamped around my wrist and yanked me backward. Instinct made me twist away, but she used my momentum against me. The hallway edge flashed, the small drop into the mudroom. The stairs that weren't even the main basement stairs, just 3 steps that you'd never think twice about until you were flying. And right before the world flipped, I heard her voice in my ear. Say it's your fault. Then impact, then the ringing, then tile. In the car to the ER, my father rehearsed the lie like he was practicing a speech. "You were carrying laundry. You missed a step. You're clumsy when you're tired." My mother kept glancing back at me, her eyes wet and terrified, but she didn't contradict him. She didn't say Sloan's name. Sloan sat 2 seats away scrolling her phone, occasionally sniffing like she was the victim of my inconvenience. The emergency room was packed. Flu season, a couple of kids crying, someone vomiting into a bag, a man holding his arm at a wrong angle. The bright smell of antiseptic and stress. They wheeled me back, and the doctor who walked in wasn't the older man my parents liked, the one who shook my dad's hand first and spoke to me like I was a moody teenager. This doctor was younger, sharp-eyed, hair pulled back. Calm in a way that made the room feel smaller. Her badge read, Dr. Priya Nair. She didn't speak to my father first. She looked directly at me. "Harper," she said, "tell me what happened." My mouth opened and the lie tried to come out on autopilot. Years of conditioning shoved it forward like a reflex. "I fell," I said. Dr. Nair nodded slowly, like she'd heard that word 1,000 times, like she knew exactly what it often meant. Then her eyes moved to my wrist, my ribs, and most importantly, my arms. Because there were bruises already forming on my upper arms, finger-shaped, one on each side, like handles. Dr. Nair didn't react dramatically. She just said evenly, "I'm going to examine you, but first I need to speak with you alone." My dad stepped forward immediately. "That won't be necessary." Dr. Nair's expression didn't change. "It is necessary. It's her family," my dad argued, voice rising like he could bully policy. "And this is my patient," Dr. Nair replied. Then she added, still calm, "Hospital policy for trauma cases, everyone out." My dad puffed up. "I'm not leaving my daughter?" Security will help if needed, Dr. Nair said. My mother went still. Sloane's eyes finally lifted from her phone. For the first time, I saw uncertainty hit her face, because my family's power only worked in private. In a hospital, they were just loud people in a hallway. When the door shut, the room changed. Quieter, safer, like someone had turned down the volume of my life. Dr. Nair pulled up a stool and softened her voice. Harper, she said, I'm going to ask you again. What happened? I stared at the ceiling tile. I could still hear my father outside, his voice rising and falling like a storm. I fell, I whispered again. It tasted bitter. Dr. Nair nodded as if accepting it, then reached gently toward my arm, careful and professional. Okay, she said. Then help me understand this. She lightly touched the bruises, pain flared and I flinched. These aren't from hitting stairs, she said quietly. These are from someone holding you. My throat tightened so fast it felt like choking. She didn't push me to confess. She didn't demand a story. She just told me the truth like a rope being lowered into a hole. I'm not here to get you in trouble, she said. I'm here to keep you alive and safe. But I need you to know something. I can document what I see. I can bring in a forensic nurse. I can involve a social worker. And if I suspect abuse, I'm required to report it. My heart started pounding. No, I breathed. I know that feels terrifying, she said. But what makes it worse is going back to the same place with the same people and no protection. Then she stood. We're getting imaging for your ribs and wrist, and I'm calling our forensic nurse to document injuries. You are not alone in this room anymore. The tests came like a blur. X-ray, CT, more hands, more questions, more careful movements. The kind of clinical attention that should have felt routine, but for me it felt revolutionary, because nobody was treating my pain like an inconvenience. When Dr. Nair came back with the results, her face had changed. Not panic, something steadier, determination. Multiple rib fractures, she said, a wrist fracture. My stomach turned, I squeezed my eyes shut, trying not to cry, trying not to shake. Then she paused. And there's evidence of older injuries, she added, healing fractures at different stages. My eyes snapped open. Older injuries. I thought I'd just been unlucky. Clumsy, tired, accident-prone. That's what they told me. That's what I repeated to myself because it was easier than believing the people who claimed to love me were actively hurting me. Dr. Nair continued, voice careful. I can't prove intent from an X-ray, she said, but I can say these injuries don't match a simple fall, and the older injuries are a serious concern. A knock came, and a woman walked in with a calm, practiced presence. She introduced herself as Kendra Walsh, forensic nurse. Kendra didn't treat me like a mystery. She treated me like a person. She asked permission before every touch. She photographed each bruise with a small measurement ruler beside it. She mapped injuries on a body chart with precise marks. She asked gentle, specific questions that didn't assume I was lying or exaggerating. It was humiliating, in a way, being documented like evidence. But it was also the first time my body was being listened to without the filter of my family's narrative. Then the social worker came. And then later a detective. Detective Marisol Vega sat beside my bed, set a recorder down, and said, Harper, you're not in trouble. You're not the problem. Start wherever you need to start. My hands were shaking. I stared at my own knuckles like they belonged to someone else. And then I started. I told her about Sloane borrowing money, about my parents always insisting it was a misunderstanding, about being told I was too sensitive, too dramatic, always trying to start something. About the way Sloane could do anything and still be the fragile one, the one who needed protecting. I told her about the escalation, the pushing, the grabbing, the times I'd woken up bruised and convinced myself it was normal because everyone around me said it was. Detective Vega listened without interrupting. Then she asked softly, Why didn't you leave? And I hated the answer because it felt pathetic. My program, I said. Money, I thought it was temporary. I kept thinking if I just didn't make waves, it would calm down. Detective Vega's voice hardened, not at me, but at the situation. That's what they wanted, she said, for you to make yourself smaller so they didn't have to change. A commotion flared in the hallway. My father's voice snapped through the door. This is ridiculous, she fell. Then Sloane's voice, too loud and too emotional, like a performance designed for an audience. Harper, tell them the truth? It was the same play as always, make me defend the lie, make me protect the person hurting me. But this time there were witnesses, charts, photos, radiology notes. Professionals who didn't care about my father's reputation. Security appeared outside my room. Someone gently told my family they needed to step away. My dad argued. My mom cried. Sloane tried to push forward and got blocked. And when my eyes met Sloane's through the doorway, I saw something I'd never seen on her face before. Fear, not fear that I was hurt, fear that the game was over. Detective Vega asked me, "Do you feel safe going home tonight?" The answer came instantly, before guilt could wrestle it back. "No," I said. Kendra squeezed my hand. "That's enough," she murmured, like she'd heard that word pull people out of hell before. "That's all we need." Dr. Nair stepped in and said, "We're admitting Harper for observation, and she will not be discharged to anyone who threatens her safety." My father tried one last time at the nurse's station, voice dripping authority, acting like he still had control just because he was loud. "I'm her father," he said. "I decide." The charge nurse looked him dead in the eye and replied, "No, Harper decides." I didn't cry then, I didn't feel brave. I felt hollow, like something huge had finally stopped pressing on me and my body didn't know what to do without the weight. At 3:14 a.m., with monitors softly beeping beside me, I texted the one person who'd been telling me for years that I needed to leave. My friend Noel. "Is your couch still available?" Her reply came immediately, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Always, no questions, tell me when." I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. Because that was the moment I understood something simple and brutal. I had been begging my family for safety, when safety was something they were never going to give. So I took it from somewhere else. 6 months later, I wasn't living in my parents' house. I was living in a small apartment with a mismatched couch, cheap curtains, and a front door that locked, a door only I controlled. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The silence inside it didn't feel like punishment. It felt like oxygen. The court process wasn't quick. It wasn't neat. It wasn't satisfying like TV. It was exhausting. There were statements. There were reports. There were photos I couldn't look at without shaking. There were days my stomach flipped just seeing an unfamiliar number call my phone. There were nights I woke up sweating because my brain still expected footsteps in the hall. Sloane ended up with strict probation conditions and court-ordered treatment, plus a protective order requiring her to stay away from me. My parents faced consequences too, not because they threw punches, but because they spent years helping someone else avoid accountability while I collected injuries like secrets. My dad lost positions he cared about. My mom lost friends who only loved her when the story was pretty. I lost something too. I lost the fantasy that if I just behaved correctly, if I just didn't provoke, if I just stayed quiet enough, they'd finally choose me. But what I gained was bigger. I gained proof. I gained distance. I gained a version of breathing that didn't feel like knives. A few weeks ago, I walked back into the same hospital, this time in uniform, clocking in for my EMT shift. Dr. Priya Nair happened to be coming off an overnight. She saw me and smiled like she already knew. "You look different," she said, and I realized I did. Not because my hair was different, not because I'd moved on, because my body finally believed what my mind was learning. I was safe. Later that week, I spoke to a group of new EMT trainees about domestic violence calls, about how sometimes the loudest person in the room isn't the most honest, and how she fell can hide a whole lifetime. I didn't tell them every detail. I didn't have to. I just said, trust patterns, trust your documentation. And if someone's eyes say, "Please help me," while their mouth says, "I'm fine," don't ignore that. Because for years, my voice wasn't enough. But one night, a doctor listened to the parts of me that couldn't lie. And that's what finally got me out.